Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss all things to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and the CZ market. Loaded up discussion today. We have markets are correcting. The BNB season has come to an abrupt halt, or at least a pause. CZ launched or announced the launch of Binance exclusive wallet meme platform. We'll touch on that and discuss what that means. Obviously very important as leader of Binance, the main exchange. We got Monad pre-market price and hyperliquid trending lower to around 12 bill FDV. That's a very important launch coming up, which we're keeping our eyes on, which will determine a lot of the health of the market. And finally, Jupiter announces JupUSD stablecoin in partnership with Ethena, building on the Ethena stablecoin as a service product. So those are the headlines we're going to talk about today. We're going to also talk latest price action on crypto and NFTs in general. So stay tuned for that, the usual stuff. Today, I've got Legendary in the co-host seat with me. We're ready to get into it. Just a reminder, friends, before we do, nothing that we say here is financial advice. This market is very, very risky, and we don't know anything for sure. So please proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, it is Thursday. It is the 9th of October. How you doing? How you feeling?
It is indeed. GM, doing quite well. I got some new slabs, got some Pokemon cards with me today.
Pretty good.
Another claim that I got from this time from Fidgetals. Last one was from BZ, this Pikachu and this Venusaur. And man, was it the process to get these. So obviously they got hold up in customs. And they asked me, do you have an invoice for these cards? I'm like, no. So how did you acquire these cards? I'm like, well, I was ripping packs on a crypto platform to acquire the cards. And then they go like, okay, can you provide like a value for these cards? I'm like, I can. Obviously I can. There's PSA, there's an average price over the last auctions. So I sent them a like pro forma invoice, which they requested, where I put in these values. They get back at me a day later, like, the values that you put in are not the ones on the homepage that you linked. I'm like, yes, because they change every damn minute because it updates every time something sells. They're like, okay, can you put it with the current values? I'm like, okay, I do the same thing again. And then they reply a couple hours later and they go, the values have changed again. Can you send us another invoice, please? I'm like, how long are we going to play this game? So this went on another time. Then they finally accepted that. And then I get a message in my tracking which says, oh, I refuse to accept the goods because it didn't want to pay customs for that. And allegedly I said that, which I never said because nobody never showed up at my doorstep with that. And I got like pretty frustrated with them. And I was like, yo, actually, why do I have legal protection and insurance? So let's threaten them, which worked. Threatening people from a legal perspective works, and I got my cards today, paid 600 something euros in import duties, and I'm happy now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the unfortunate realities. A, in Europe, you're just going to have to go through all of this stuff, and then B, just threaten people sometimes, and things happen. Customer service is basically non-existent, so that is a shame. But at least you've got the cards.
Yes.
As you were describing that, though, sounds like some bear market activity, to be honest, like doing some card collecting, doing these invoices. We've been talking about a book club, talking about all these things. You got to, I'm just very conscious of our behavior. Our behavior is a great indicator of where we are in the market, because we know when things are moving, you can feel it in our energy, like, things start heating up. And although things are kind of hot at the moment, I don't know, maybe it's me. The question I wanted to ask you, because I think the answer for this for me is no, is remember that time back in November where we said, like, right, this is the time. Let's take a ton of money. And let's just play. Let's play right now, right here, right now. And we did that until January, and that worked out nicely. And that was the right decision at that point in time. I just don't feel that now. And then there could be two reasons for that. One is because we're right to not play in this like more dangerous environment. And we could, we're way higher than we were back then as well. So, kind of towards the top. And two, I guess the thing that you got to be conscious of is like the declining desire to try to make money because you're trying to preserve money. Like this cycle has been very, very good to us. And so you've got to be conscious like, okay, well, is that just your own bias because you want to preserve rather than allocate and take more risk as you kind of go towards the top? Curious for your thoughts here, Ledge. Like, do you think, yeah, actually, it might have been a week or two ago, you said you wanted to start to decrease your number of stables and allocate more to risk. I definitely I've not felt in the last few weeks or last few months that same feeling I felt in November. But how are you feeling?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, couple of thoughts on that. First of which is, and I said it after the show to you yesterday, I said before the show, today, I feel exhausted. I just feel mentally drained from this bull market basically and farming all the things and trading all the things. And it went well. So I'm like quite happy if we have a bit of a pullback. In terms of my stablecoin allocation, I did, like my default thing was just to repeat that again, 50-50. Then I took 50%, 10% out and moved that from stables into risk on. So I was like, quote unquote, only 40% in stables. Looking at my portfolio now, yeah, it's still that. It's like 38% right now, and stable, 62 risk on. But I'm at that moment or at that point where I'm thinking that there's gonna be still opportunities and a ton of them this year, but having a bit of a breather maybe and having a bit of a break to recharge wouldn't be the worst thing. But I don't think that. I mean, just look at the BNB stuff that was running. Look at now the launchpad, which we will get into. Monad launching soon. Mega ETH coming soon with a flurry of things to do. The airdrop farming stuff. So much stuff to deposit capital in right now. So while I am like ready to take a break, I clearly cannot do that. But at least
Yeah.
I can maybe shift from trying to trade and trying to be active on perps just to deploying capital and trying to more participate in airdrop opportunities instead of trying to hit the next, I don't know, BNB, BSC runner.
Yeah. I have so many thoughts following on from what you said. I think first, I completely agree with you. And maybe this is why cycles happen in the way they are. Like I was speaking to Brett about this yesterday and he was just like, yeah, of course that's it. Cycles have nothing really to do with anything. It's just, I mean, I think this was his take. I can't remember exactly, but it's more just like maybe 4 years is about what is humanly possible to cope with this stuff. Like maybe I'm not an expert. This is technically my second cycle. Arguably, I wasn't even around for the full cycle last time, but I'm absolutely exhausted at this point. And it was funny because me and you said, I was sitting on the sofa behind me yesterday thinking the same thing, and then you said that same thing as well. And it was like, I don't know how you can do this in the way that we were doing it before. And I think, if that's something we're feeling for people who've been invested in the market, who've felt these numbers go up so significantly over time, there comes a point where you just can't hold the things anymore. I think you have to de-risk in some way. I guess partly now the question is, okay, well, where do you de-risk to? Mistrust in the dollar is an all-time high, right? So that's why I guess it feels like this could go on for longer in a way, because when people are taking profits this time, maybe a fair portion of that is getting slammed into gold and it is getting slammed into Bitcoin potentially. And so in that way, maybe there's not less traditional profit taking in that sense, because people are way more reluctant to go back into the dollar this time. That's one thought. A second thought, which I think is maybe slightly more personal, but will be interesting for people, is although I have this Hypercat as my PFP at the moment, like I bought that like a few days ago. I sold it yesterday not because I'm specifically bearish hyperliquid, but again, it's like a cycle point of view where I did this exact same thing last cycle where I made a ton of money and then I bought like 70K of art. And that was my first cycle, and I really liked NFTs and stuff as well, but it was like entirely unnecessary and completely disproportionate to the amount of money that I had made at the time. And I didn't think it was going to go down so much when I did it, but that is what I did back then. And I gave this piece of advice the other day, which you have been saying as well a lot. I think it was one of our friends who shared it with us in the first place. Like when you make a ton of money, like we did on Plasma, for example, just sit on it for a bit. Like just sit. Don't do anything. Do not redeploy aggressively into anything. And for some reason, I decided to buy a cat with it. And it's just not necessary. Like, could it be a great investment? Sure. Is it a speculative investment? Yes, because you don't know how it's going to play out. And that's just not the thing that I need in my portfolio right now. So I took a little bit of a loss there. I'm going to think on like where I want to redeploy it. Because ultimately I'm a net seller of, I've said this before, I'm a net seller of crypto assets still at the moment. I've said my strategy for a few months now, which is sell a little bit over time. I don't know when the top is. I'm not going to be the person to just one sell, click, nuke everything because I think I know when the top is. I'll sell hype periodically. I probably will always keep a bit of hype. But I'll sell that periodically. Bitcoin, I'm not selling, so that's okay. NFTs, I will sell periodically. Everything else, I will sell periodically. And it's going to go into some combination of dollars, gold, and Bitcoin now. That's my thinking. I think I've got some other thoughts as well. Let's curious. I'm just going to stop there, see what you think on those sets of reflections.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I also see both Phunky and Oxy with their hands up. So definitely want to hear from the both of them as well. Okay. I did the same thing last cycle. I remember very well when I sold my first ape. It was after Mutant Sunday for 50-ish, 55-ish ETH, whatever it was back then. I was like, okay, we sold that. I was happy sitting on my profits for like 10 minutes. And I was like, let's buy a couple cool cats. Let's buy a couple, I don't know. I basically spent like 2/3 of the money on buying new JPEGs.
Yeah.
And then we had a correction a couple days after. I was like, okay, fucking dumped all of that because I got scared. Obviously, that was not the top back then. And we lost 20%, 25-ish% of the proceeds. And that was Stats who gave that piece of advice. If you make a lot of money on a play, whatever, try to sit on that for 2 or 3 weeks and you'll get used to having that money in a portfolio. And as a result of that, you'll be more defensive, more protective of it. You don't want to give it back. One more thought on something that you said, which I wanted to comment on. You said, buying more BTC, buying more gold. That's one thing I mentioned to you after the show yesterday, that I basically, you asked the question on one of the shows, what's the ratio of BTC to gold that you want to have? And I said, like, I have maybe like 2.5 to 1 ratio of BTC to gold. But then I also said, I actually don't care if I have more BTC or more gold. And when I say stuff like that, then the answer is there and Oxy will like that. Is there an LP that can do this for me? Is there like some sort of wrapped Bitcoin, Tether Gold, whatever? And there is one that I found on Uniswap on mainnet that currently is returning 20% a year. So I'm like, that's maybe a nice way to park a significant sum in and don't be too bothered whether you slide more into BTC or slide more into gold with that, as long as you earn the yield on that. So that is something that I probably will do once I free up more assets. Again, I'm still farming this USDI allocation heavily with this balancer pool, so that locking up a ton of capital. But once that is free, and once Kinetic does the last snapshot for the K hype points distribution, you want to get rid of a bit of hype as well, and aggregate from a couple sources, pull some stables, buy more BTC, more gold, and just LP that and see how it does.
Okay. Yeah, I like that idea. I'm speaking to Lambo about seeing whether Project X is gonna have that. We might do something to create a gold and Bitcoin pool. One thought though on that thing. I know you were showing your ratio. I'm like 10 to 1 Bitcoin at the moment, like in favor of Bitcoin. Like it's insane. I've as I said, I've never really had a huge amount of gold, and it's just you can be bullish on Bitcoin, but I just need more gold, basically. 10 to 1 is pretty aggressive. Okay, those are my sets of thoughts. I think I have some more, but let's go around a little bit, doing a little bit of portfolio reflection here to kick things off. Phunky, your hand is raised. Welcome to the stage, my man. Then we'll go to Oxy after. What is your take on this portfolio discussion?
I'll just start by saying, you know how happy it makes me to hear all this talk about how you guys have become Bitcoiners over the last couple 18 months, whatever it is. Like, I've been listening to the show for a long time, and I love hearing this. I think you're spot on in terms of just admittedly, Aaron and I yesterday were on our walk and we were talking about how we have to get some kind of allocation of gold. We've never really held any, and it feels like this is the time where we need to start doing something, whether that's in our Roth IRAs and buying gold miners or ETFs or doing a little bit of stuff on chain. Love the idea of having Lambo build out a pool on Project X so we can also earn points on that. But this is also, talked about being exhausted in the market. This is one of the things that helps me sleep at night, just the fact that most of our portfolio is Bitcoin. And when we see these high levels of volatility and prices are quote unquote dumping or whatever, like it's not really reflected all that much. It's a very small move for Bitcoin compared to the way alts get hit on some of these down days. So, just really interested in, I think that's the play. You guys talked about this the other day, just having Bitcoin, gold, and dollars and putting those dollars to work in yield earning opportunities seems to be the most stress-free way to go about playing this market. And if you didn't get a chance, and I dropped it last night right before I went to bed, it's one of his shortest essays to date. I think he brings a very strong case for exactly why the cycles happened. And even though it lines up with having Arthur Hayes's most recent piece shows why the cycles happened when they did, in both in terms of US and Chinese credit expansion. So it's a really interesting read for those who didn't get a chance to check it out yet. It's a really short essay for him, and he basically shows sort of the infinite institutional bid is coming. So get ready, because I don't think this party is going to end anytime soon. Although I think you were spot on your earlier comments insofar as you could tell there was something big about to happen with the Trump election. It's a very different period. The market's much higher, but I don't think we have the typical, and I've been saying this for a while, a lot of the TradFi bros are all saying it, and Hayes had a post on it yesterday. They're here to sell crypto and derivatives to all the people downstream, whether these are fund managers, all of it. So like, I think that this is going to be a much longer played out cycle, if you will, if you want to even call it a cycle.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting takes there. I do wonder whether this stock market insane bull run as well has meant that it certainly made me question the relevancy of crypto as a core holding. I mean, Bitcoin aside, which is one that I guess is kind of like your saving account in a sense. The rest of the spot assets, if you're not dipping in and getting these allocations early at favorable valuations, I'm kind of wondering what the point is if you can buy Robinhood and it just goes up 4x or something. I'm just not convinced in the spot holding of many crypto assets now. This tweet that I put out earlier today, I think kind of summarizes my position for the moment. It's like I said, the recreation of private conditions for public raises are what you should look out for at the moment. Thank you, Plasma, Machina, and USD AI. So Plasma obviously allowed everyone to get in this private style raise, although it was a public ICO. Machina did a very similar thing. Now that cap is full and you cannot get in even if you want to, and that's going to get you an allocation at a 35 mil valuation, I think. And USDI is, again, doing something similar. Now you've got to be conscious. This is just like everyone's trying to do Plasma, but no one is giving you the same as favorable terms or for as high quality of a project. So in the same way, it's like that image of the roller coaster. The first one is the biggest one. Now everyone is going to do the same thing. Everyone's locking up capital. So long as the valuation is favorable, that will still be productive, probably. But then there'll be a time when that gets exhausted as well, and all kinds of other projects are just trying to lock up your capital for a period of time too. So it's not entirely straightforward, but that's the way I would play crypto right now. I'm not going to go chase Zcash because it just randomly goes up in a day, and I'm not going to go chase. Well, I actually did go chase some BNB memes just for some fun with a small amount, but like I'm not going to do that in a meaningful way and risk all of the big gains so far this cycle. So I think it's about risk management. Depends where you are at your stage. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that, Legendary, like where you are for each person in a moment and like what you might do in each case. But Oxy, coming to you first, my man, welcome to the stage. What are your thoughts on the general state of the market and this portfolio discussion?
Yeah, Yeah, what you said, B-Check, it was like exactly what I was going to come in to say a little bit. And maybe I'm getting older. I'm mid curving, this kind of thing. But like the extent of my risk that I'm like willing to take currently, or like it's not even like a comfort thing, but like feels like the smart move in any situation is like maybe an XPL liquidity pool on Project X. Like Liminal is like a stable coin farm, or Solstice is a stable coin farm. Even though like you're looking for that TGE, which may never come in a lot of situations, like that's the extent that I'm, willing to take risk anymore. Like I'm not trying to, like you said, I'm not trying to chase the BNB meme runners or the random Zcash pump. Like that doesn't like interest me anymore. It doesn't feel like the smart play anymore. And maybe it's either it's maturity of myself or maturity of the space. It kind of feels like it's moving away from this. I know we've talked about this before. It's like the meme coin mania is kind of like diminished, and that maybe we're moving away from something like that. But between a riskier play by putting money into a new protocol, and maybe that's the extent of the risk, or like an angel round investment that may never TGE. Like that's the risky play that I'm taking now. And maybe it's just a personal thing that I'm doing, but it kind of just feels like the smart play isn't, chasing those things anymore like maybe they used to be.
Yeah, I think I think all of the things that you said above, Chu, maybe it's that you're getting a bit more mature, maybe the market's getting a bit more mature, maybe that's just the genuine right. Maybe memes have just become less popular at the moment, and there's a different meta. Obviously, you've got all these perp dexes springing up. Everyone's claiming that you should be farming 17 different perp dexes at the same time, and everyone's super bullish, not realizing that they're perp dexes, so everyone's going to lose their money. Like that's the point. Like, how is everyone in the space supposed to farm perp dexes and get rich when they're going to lose their money in the process? So like this is just the other side of things I don't think people are really discussing or thinking through sufficiently. Like if perp dexes are the most successful thing that we create and most people are bad traders, then therefore most people are going to lose money. Like that is what is going to happen, because most people will lose. So yeah, I think that's why we've just kind of risk adjusted the way we're tackling this period in the market. We're kind of at highs, and until I see something which makes me exceptionally bullish, I don't know. I feel like that's the best way to play. I wouldn't even be confident to say for 3 months. That it's kind of indefinitely until I see something otherwise. But Ledge, curious for your thoughts there on like, is that the right way? Like, would you be able to put a time frame on how to play this market at the moment, the way that we're doing it? And then also maybe, what if you have less money at the moment? Like if you had a few K portfolio, a 10K portfolio, 20K or something like that, would you be chasing those things? If that was the case, how would you structure it then?
Yeah, very, very good questions. And then I also want to tackle Gangster Geek's question in the YouTube comments or X comments as well, but one after the other. So first of all, very much agree with what Oxy said. It kind of this feels like the quote unquote the risk of a grown up portfolio to take, which is to do the capital deployments, to do the angel rounds. But I think that, and then I'm going to go to the smaller portfolios as well, that this basically barbell approach of deploying capital into airdrop farms, where you put a ton of capital into that, have like your high conviction, hyper liquid style plays, and then obviously also your Bitcoin gold. That is like one side of the barbell, and the other side then is I still think those plays, as you said, you played around with the BNB memes, but with a way smaller bag. Like you're not at a point where you like putting in, I don't know, 50K into whatever BNB meme into the hope that it's going to 100x to 5 mil. I think it's still smart to play around with smaller amounts. If you have a like more mature portfolio, you put a couple grand in. If it does well, you add another 20K, you add maybe another 30K to your stack. And if you lose that, you lost 1K, you lost 2K. Like who the fuck cares? Doesn't really matter. That is from this perspective of a mature portfolio. I would basically decrease the bet size for the degenerate bets because you don't need to have these big hits anymore. And I would also honestly apply a similar concept for the smaller portfolios, like the 4 or 5 figure portfolios. What I wouldn't do there is, I don't think there is much of a point to acquire Bitcoin if all you can put into Bitcoin is like 1K, 2K. It's like not the most productive use of your capital because you need to scale up a bit more quickly. And then it basically would strip that away and I would dedicate like 80-90% of the capital that I have to farm airdrops, to get the plasmas, to get the exposure to whatever you find interesting, and to do that in a delta neutral way. Maybe it's the way that also takes more time. Like with a smaller portfolio, you maybe want to be the one who generates a ton of volume on hype EVM and finds the swaps on project X which don't burn through fees. You may want to be the one who does the arbitraging between two perp dexes, which I personally cannot be bothered to do because I just don't have the time for that. But you can do that in a smart way with a smaller portfolio and be protective of that and just add gains to that via doing these airdrops. And then have like the 10% where you do your smaller plays with maybe a couple $100 into like some of the memes. But if you lost that, you don't top up. You don't take like the next 10% out of your point, then the next and grind that to zero. And once you've grown that to a bit more of a significant size, then I feel like, you know, the hyperliquids, the Bitcoin plays will come into play. But again, I don't think there's at this price level much of a point if you have all you have is 5K to be like, I'm going to put 3K of that into BTC and chill. And if it doubles up, I have 6K. Nice gain, but doesn't make a difference to your life after all.
That I completely agree. The thing I would probably do is take 50% of a liquid portfolio and go for these plasma style lockups where you think you're going to get access to something private, which should hopefully trade at a multiple straight after, and 50% saved, waiting and ready for something like Asta liquid, plasma liquid. So obviously half of it is for the private style trade, and then half of it is for when, you know, something, you know, no one saw Asta coming, right? It just came out of nowhere. And so half of it, you got ready for that to just go all in on it. Like if you've got a smaller port, and then maybe obviously you should probably have a job at the same time if you're working that. And then I do think getting routine, constant exposure to Bitcoin is fine. You clip like, I don't know, a percentage or two out of whatever savings you might have, and you just like allocate to Bitcoin on a buying basis, something like that, rather than take your whole portfolio and hold a significant amount of Bitcoin when Bitcoin is also at 120 something K. So that's probably what I would do with a smaller size at the moment. So that's that.
The one thing I wanted to do is to pick out Gangster Geek's comments from before I forget that from the X comments. So Gangster Geek's been asking, serious question for you guys. What's the end game for NFTs in your opinion? Legendary had been accumulating a very large amount of bad buns. Is that in anticipation of scaling up with potential airdrops, or is the end game going to be selling for 5 to 10x more and then rotating into stables or BTC?
Good question.
Very good question. I have 69 bad buns. Obviously, I can't sell them. I can't sell all of them. If I start selling the bad buns, the market will panic. I'm absolutely aware of that. So I don't have. Plus, there's like not even enough bids at this price level to do that. So they're like 0.4 ETH. You know, I'm up a ton on that. That's nice. But that's not the end game for me to just dump all of my bad buns right now. It's rather to wait to see what Mega ETH mainnet will bring. We have some of the things which we already know on the timeline, like the meth token, one of the meme coins that will get airdropped to bad buns holders as well. And basically the anticipation or the thinking here is that there could be more of these product related airdrops coming to the bad buns, and that is definitely the liquid component which I would like to, you know, sell and take profits in. And if as a result of that they will go to a price point that is closer to 1 ETH with way more liquidity and depth when it comes to like bids and offers, I want to scale down a bit and sell some of these off and lock in profit. So the end game is not holding them forever, and it's not waiting for them to 10x. It's rather to hope that liquid plays like token airdrops come from them and be able to like profit from them and not having to dump all of the bad ones, because A, not possible, B, would scare the market, not my intention to do that.
Okay. Good stuff. That is a great set of reflections, I think, to kick off today with. Let's get into it. Starting with, let's get into the roundup finally. I thought that was a helpful start, to be honest. But let's get into the price action as usual, starting with the majors, then we'll do the roundup, then we'll get into the usual discussion as always. We got Bitcoin. After all that, Bitcoin's flat, guys. So 122.7K. So that is fine. There's nothing really to be deeply depressed about. You're only depressed if you allocated entirely to BNB memes in the last 48 hours. ETH is down a couple of percent to 4.3K. BNB is also down a few percent to 1.279. So 1,200. Still up 22% on the week. So still clearly the outperformer. XRP is down a couple of percent to $2.80. Solana's flat at 223. We have Hyperliquid down 4% to 44. And we have Sui. Where is Sui gone? Sui is down a couple of percent to $3.40. On the meme coin side of things, we have Doge down 1% to 24 cents. Pepe's down 1% as well. Pengu's down 1%. Trump is flat. Bonk is down 2. SPX down 7. WIF down 3. Filecoin's flat at 64 cents. Toshi on base is actually up 8%. That's up 22% on the week. One of the rare ones that are up. Useless coin again. Bonk guy's favorite coin on BNB up 6% to 39 cents. That's up 81% on the week. So there are, tokens every now and again here that are much more green than others. Rect is actually up 8% today as well. But I would say generally the memes are red with the rest of the market correction. Getting into the headlines themselves, we have markets correcting as CZ kind of announced the launch of a Binance exclusive wallet meme platform. I believe you have to KYC on that platform to access these memes beneath a certain market cap. Legendary will break that down in just a little bit and what the impacts are for the market. We've got Monad pre-market price on Hyperliquid trending lower to around 12 billion FDV. We'll discuss what we think that means for the market. And finally, Jupiter announces JupUSD stablecoin in partnership with Ethena, building on Athena's stablecoin as a service product. Some notable price action. Asta's down 10%. XPL's down 14% to 7.5 bill FDV. Zcash is up 27% on the privacy narrative to $175. And Railgun, which Vitalik, founder of Ethereum, has been talking about for quite some time as a privacy option on ETH, is also up 86% on the privacy narrative to $2.27. Ledge, anything we need to know on the NFT side before we get to the rest of the roundup?
Keep it super short. We're 40 minutes into the show. We have this Jack Butcher single check, which I'm sharing on screen, which sold for 20 ETH. Apart from that, most of the top NFTs, Moonbirds down 3%, Pudgy Penguins down 3%. Everything is down a bit. Bigger correction for the Kaito Genesis NFTs, down 23% on the day. That is after Limitless, which was this highly anticipated launchpad project on Kaito, was 95x or whatever, oversubscribed. Allocations came out. Allocations were pretty low, obviously, with that amount of oversubscription. There was a boost for having one of the Kaito Genesis NFTs, one of the Yapibaras, and people are selling it off after the allocations are now public.
Okay. Good update there. In the rest of the news, Luxembourg's Intergenerational Sovereign Wealth Fund, what a name, invests 1% of its holdings into Bitcoin ETFs. That is good news, I suspect. That's what we want to see more of. Nvidia to take a $2 billion equity stake in Elon Musk's xAI. Some very interesting graphics being shared on the timeline, which I want to share with you in a moment on that. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF sees $3.5 billion of inflows this week. MetaMask announces perp trading built on Hyperliquid live now. Everyone is so delighted that perps are everywhere. Again, I make the point. Everyone is going to lose their money. So it's good and bad there, guys. Polymarket founder hints at Poly token incoming in their latest tweet. That's good to see. TokenWorks releases Vibe strategy for Good Vibes Club NFTs. Sorare moves soccer trading card game from Ethereum to Solana. And finally, Hyperswap on Hyperliquid announces TGE on 20th of October. That's in 11 days. I think the Kinetic points season finishes 4 days prior. Very important to have a look and see how those Hyperliquid protocols move towards TGE, how they perform at TGE. Because, the one concern with the Hyperliquid ecosystem in general is that everyone loves hype too much and therefore will not value the tokens of the protocols themselves. I hope that's not the case, but there's definitely that concern out there at the moment. And so we want to see how that works out. Ledge, that's the roundup. Before we get into the main stuff today, there's one thing I definitely want to bring up. Is there anything that you just want to touch on before we run through the main headlines?
Let's bring the thing up that you want to bring up, which I assume is that Nvidia news to take the $2 billion equity in XAI.
Yeah, I just wanted, so you can see these couple of tweets. Maybe you should just bring the first one up from the discussion section in the document. Like, this is what you're looking at on the screen, and for people who are listening in, what I am sharing is a diagram from Bloomberg of where all this money is moving between traditional tech companies and the new AI companies and Nvidia. And you've got Nvidia worth $4.5 trillion in the middle, throwing money into Intel, OpenAI in one corner of this kind of, it's kind of like a solar system of companies you have here, with Nvidia being the sun, OpenAI being, I don't know, just call it Earth. Oracle being Mars. I don't know, I'm just making up different things, but all of these things are circling around Nvidia. OpenAI being worth 500 billion, inking a $300 billion cloud deal with Oracle, who are then spending tens of billions on Nvidia chips. And you've just got this circulation of money and investment in particular that's going around here. And I guess the suggestion is a little bit that all of these valuations are getting so crazy because there's just this hot ball of money that's going between all of these companies, going into each other, going around each other. Moon Overlord, who had commented on this, said it's like 2017 ICOs, except it's the biggest companies in the world. This is fine. Ledge, do you have a view here on what we are seeing? It seems like valuations are getting a little bit out of control. People have spoken about the AI capex spend just going absolutely insane. And yes, the total value or the potential total value of all this stuff could be really, really big. That's why people are willing to spend the money. But it does look a little bit concerning, right? When you see the way that the money is just going around in a circle.
I don't think it's super concerning, to be honest. I think it's just a result of the fact that, wait, where did you go? There you go.
That's fine. That's me.
Yeah, scary things. It's just a result of the fact that Nvidia is obviously the biggest company in the world, and they have something that every AI company wants, and they are in this position to do beautiful deals like, I'm going to invest $2 billion in your company, knowing that you're going to take those $2 billion and buy chips back from me, back from Nvidia with that money. So for them, it's just a sort of free way to get allocation and bet on every company that they find interesting in the AI space. And they're not really massively inflating valuations of AI companies like that. That is the hype around AI and all this like AGI narrative, and the foundation of the world will be completely changed once we have AGI that is driving that. Nvidia is just adding $2 billion here, $3 billion there, $100 billion deal there, but I don't think that they are like the massive catalyst which is adding fuel to the fire. They are just basically spraying paint on the wall in the AI ecosystem because they can, and people want their chips, and it's a free move for them to do that and see what sticks for them.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up as part of the broader conversation because we're talking more macro stuff at the moment, aren't we? And just the general froth in the market in general. So I thought that would be helpful context as well. Let's get into the main headlines though, then, Ledge, and close the show the next 15 minutes or so. Let's do 5 minutes on each, probably. So your headline is to do with market kind of correcting here a little bit, but really the damage was done on BNB with this latest CZ announcement. What do we need to know about it? Is there anything to do here? Why did it cause a big sell-off in the BNB ecosystem?
Yes, there is this screenshot circulating, which I'm sharing on screen, with all of the BNB tokens being down 30, 40, 60, 70% on the hour, and even more on the 6-hour chart, which has been shared on the timeline over and over and over again. And the result, or the reason for this correction, is a post by CZ, which linked to this Block It Beats article, which I just translated from Chinese into English, that says that there's going to be a meme coin launchpad in the Binance ecosystem, which will work like this. You will have to be a Binance Wallet user. You will have to buy tokens. There is apparently a KYC users before they hit $1 million market cap, and then they graduate and make it outside this closed loop ecosystem. And then that was the massive thing with it, is that the tokens which are graduating, they make it onto a list, and they are the ones who then potentially can get a Binance Alpha listing. And Binance Alpha listing is like this early stage discovery listing for Binance that then has a chance to be listed on the main platform. And it seems like that only memes originating from this ecosystem will get a chance to even be listed on Binance Alpha, which then means that everything else can't be listed there. And that is the reason why we've seen this immediate dump across existing BNB memes after CZ posted the link to the article.
Okay, so it sounds like people want to sell everything off because they think the memes on this specific platform is going to be the ones that are more valuable. And I think one of the tokens is already out. I think it's called BNB. I might just make this up at the moment, but there's one out. I think it's BNB Builder. That might be the case. We should probably check. Either way, I wouldn't FOMO into it like right now, but we'll probably check and share it in the Telegram later. Okay, so that is that. Was there a KYC component to this, Legendary? And do you think it is worth, like, would you KYC to get access to this specific Binance specific meme platform?
I mean, Binance is the main exchange that I'm using. You know, I'm not American. It is the exchange I've been using for years and years and years. So I wouldn't mind. I probably don't even need to extra KYC for that if I'm a Binance user. But even if I did, I wouldn't mind doing that at all.
Fair enough. Okay. That is fine. So that's going on there. Do you think there's any other implications for this, Legendary? Like, obviously, one of the things I had suggested some time ago, actually, I was talking about this yesterday, but even longer ago, we do this every cycle where there's a little bit of BNB season. My suggestion is that this bit of a BNB season will be longer than before for various reasons, one of which is CZ is now unshackled from a legal perspective. He's served his time. Sounds like he's going to be pardoned. Sounds like he gets along with the US administration. Sounds like he can kind of go about, he's kind of back at Binance, whereas before he was explicitly not there and someone else was leading fully. So it sounds like he's, they're willing to be vocal about all of this stuff and they're willing to push. And, they've got Hyperliquid to contend with now. They've got a real competition to try to get back that volume. So I feel like it's going to go on for longer for all of those reasons. Maybe the purest play here from a investing / trading perspective, although you're very late to it at this point, I suspect, is just BNB. Like if you wanted to still get exposure to CZ doing whatever he's going to do over the next 3 months, and assuming that you think he's going to do something, and I'm thinking out loud here, rather than chase God knows how many Chinese memes that you're running through ChatGPT to figure out what they even mean. Just buy some BNB if that's what you wanted to get some exposure to. I would, if I want to get some exposure, that's what I will. I don't know. Maybe I'll chase some for fun as well, but that's probably what I'll do. Okay, that's everything on the BNB side. Let's talk Monad pre-market ledge. Pre-market price on Hyperliquid came out yesterday super high. I think it was as high as 20 bill FTV at one point. On the show, it was around 14, 15. I believe you opened a short at that time. We discussed on the show yesterday how it just felt a little bit overpriced given everything in the market, to be honest. Given everything in the market, seems to have dropped now to around 12 bill last time I checked, although it might have just changed. What do we need to know here? What are you thinking about Monad?
Yes, absolutely. Let's bring it up on screen. There we go. You're right. It's currently trading at 12.3 bill. That is off 20 mil in 24-hour volume. Open interest 9.8 mil. Yesterday, open interest was half of that, which means that is extremely volatile. So if you open up a position there that does not have to be a $6-figure $1 million position, whatever, and you close that, you will move the chart with that. That is what causes this insane volatility spikes that we're seeing. So if you want to play around with trading that as a perp, then you should be aware of that. Then the other thing that I wanted to comment on, Monad, is in terms of the claim. I don't know if you've seen this video that was circulating on the timeline, that they're going to do the claim a bit, the token claim. They're going to do that a bit different. It's going to be a specific time frame, and during that specific time frame, you will have to perform specific actions. And if you miss to do that, you will miss to be eligible to get your tokens. So they don't want to have like a long claiming period. They want to do that very, very short, in a very short amount of time, and have some tasks coupled to that. So I'm curious to see what it means. I'm also curious to then see the stats of how many people will claim and how many people will, for whatever reasons, miss the claim. But it also seems like this is just a claim to if that is the case, to like get the circulating supply a bit lower from the get-go.
Oh yeah, why not? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm sure some people will miss it, right? The best way to have a short claim period, if any protocol is listening and is wondering, you could just airdrop the tokens. That would be a fast claim period. No stress, no claims, no nothing. There doesn't need to be a claim period because it's called an airdrop. That would be beautiful. Traffy says in the comments, just a marketing tool to flood the timeline. Yeah, I think that's probably the case. But to be fair, the cards did well. Give crypto Twitter some cards with their cartoon profile picture faces on them, and they will be happy, at least for a period of time until the airdrop. And if you make that a valuable one, then they will be happy too.
Yeah, this is the risk. This is the risk with that, right? If you give CT cards and then the airdrop doesn't make CT happy, then you've brought everyone in one single group against you, because this is a very entitled place. And we could see that happen a bit with Limitless, where like some people deposited 80K and got $100 allocation. I deposited 10K, which was way too little, and I got $200 allocation. And already that is like, what do you want me to do with a $200 allocation? I'm not interested in that. And you can see like that mood immediately changing. You know, I'm complaining about that because we are an entitled place. And, you know, my post on that was entitled as well. I will admit to that. I mean, I got my $200 allocation. I got the rest refunded. So no harm happened there. But you have this like immediate sense of,
yeah, it's just a little bit of disappointment, right? You still felt like you.
Yeah, I wanted more.
No, but the thing is, in that specific case, though, like the thing I would say, and this again is for protocols who are trying to game the system in a way, there are some times where it's not anyone's fault. It's just like, look, the demand was so big, therefore it has to be fair that you can't get the allocation. In that specific case, they very well knew, I think, the amount that was available was so small. And in fact, to be honest, guys, you should just be aware of it yourselves as well. The amount that was available was so small. The cap was like unlimited. Like why have an unlimited cap? It's because you want everyone to go and tweet like, oh, we're like 2 million% oversubscribed. You don't, it's kind of pointless after a certain point, right? You don't need to do that when you're only raising a small amount of money. In fact, I'm pretty sure on Echo, when you raise the amount of money that you need, like you just close it. Like you just close it straight away. So part of the game here is people having an artificially low number and then leaving it uncapped just so people can go and say, oh, wow, this is so great. So part of the game, I think, as you say. But yeah, if you commit a lot of capital, you're obviously going to feel a little bit disappointed with it. So you got to manage that psychology, I think. OG Gaming says, is what projects do when they aren't confident. I actually really like that take. I like that take a lot. Where, for example, I said this to you the other day, Ledge. I can't remember if it was on the show or privately. When people give you the option of like refunding something, like they try to take the risk off your things. Like, well, I don't like that. I don't like that from a private investment perspective, because it means that you don't think it's worth me taking the risk and definitely backing you. It means you think you're trying to hedge. It means you think I need some other type of incentive to give you my capital, which 9 times out of 10 in this space you don't need, right? We all take all kinds of risks. I don't want you to tell me that if it doesn't work out or something, you're going to get the 75% back or something like that. So that's on the pure investment side. Something to think about. Right. Okay. Final question. Price 2.4 bill FDV at the moment. Still a short from your perspective? I don't like it at that price. Again, remember these high perps, very volatile. You know, you're kind of in danger at all times here because of the way the market probably be manipulated. But what do you think?
Yeah, I closed my short yesterday at some point.
Yeah,
because I had multiple. I closed open, and then I had a smaller one which got liquidated because it just pumped
yeah.
2 billion.
I saw it spiked to 15, didn't it, yesterday?
Exactly, like very, very quickly. So I'm like, yeah, it's
Just
low,
a dangerous
low
game.
open interest, dangerous game. I think 12 bill is too high for that, but I also don't think that this perp market is the right way for me to express that I want to be short on that.
That's what I think. I think I also need to see, like, we don't know any of the details of the tokenomics. We don't know what this claim is going to look like. So let's see. I agree with you. Probably overvalued instinctively, but do not want to express it in this form because I think it's too dangerous. Right. Final headline of the day. Before we close out, then we got a couple of important announcements to make. So stick with us for those. I'll do the final headline pretty quickly, to be honest. Don't need to spend a huge amount of time on this one. This is the news that Jupiter announced JupUSD, which is a native stablecoin on Jupiter Exchange, which is going to be built on Ethena's stablecoin as a service stack now. So Jupiter USD will plug into every major part of the Jupiter stack, including Jupiter Perps, where the $750 million in stablecoins inside of JLP will gradually be replaced by JupUSD and Jupiter Lend as the cornerstone lending asset. This is huge news for Ethena. Obviously, it's not a stable coin itself. It is a synthetic dollar. It is the third largest one now. It's done an amazing job of kind of penetrating that market and becoming the third largest stable coin, the largest synthetic dollar, however you want to package it. And yeah, kind of expanding onto Solana now. It's been very prominent on ETH. It exists on Hyperliquid. It exists on other chains too. They announced a partnership with Binance not long ago as well. And now getting integrated into those more important products as well. USDC has obviously had a very big monopoly, usually across the board, whether that's on ETH or Solana, or and Hyperliquid maybe on the EVM has been more USDT to date. But making great strides. I'm super bullish on Ethena's kind of trajectory. I can't say the same about the price of the token itself because it just seems to get sold down. Whether it's, I think it's from VC unlocks relentlessly over time. So if there was a way for me to bet on the founder at Ethena, as soon as these aggressive unlocks stop, I 100% would. I think they're executing at the highest level possible. So I want to keep an eye on Ethena always. And I was one of the earliest liquidity providers there when their first airdrop program, because I thought they were very promising. So I've done well out of that ecosystem too. So that's that news. Ledge, any reflection there before we hit the audience with a couple of announcements?
Let's hit them. Let's do the announcements.
Let's hit them metaphorically. Okay, so two things. The first, and Ledge, maybe you'll do the Yeet one in a second. The first, just PSA, is that we are again conscious that there's a lot of demand for getting into the Telegram chat. We have around 100, I think it's 170, 180 people in there right now. DMs are flooded with people. That is the formal process. If you want to get in, DM the Modern Market account on Twitter. We will get around to doing it. We're letting in around 2-3 people per day at the moment, just because we want to stagger it. We can't have like an influx of 30, 40 people, but we have as many as that, like waiting. at the moment. So we're doing that slowly. It is coming. Please be patient. We appreciate you wanting to be in. We will just get around to it as soon as possible. We look forward to welcoming you in there. And we'll do that as soon as possible. So that will be rolling out in the next few days, just to let you know. If other people are asking about it, people don't need to ask about it, because if you watch the show, then you know how to get in, which is because I've just told you the process. All other like private DMs, all other people who want to get in but don't listen to the show, maybe one day we'll have people from elsewhere, but for now, we will not. It's just for people who listen to the show. That's the core community, right? That's what brings us together every day. So that's who the Telegram is for at the moment. If they listen to the show, then they don't need to ask how to get in, because they should know, because I've explained it a few times now. So that is coming. We appreciate your patience. We'll be with you soon. Ledge, we have another announcement which is coming a little bit later today. This is a fun one for us, I think, hopefully. What do we need to know about this extension of our partnership with Yeet?
Yes, Yeet is launching another Big Moments tournament, this time with 154K in the prize pool. It's going to be...
Should we share this on screen as well?
Yes, give me 1 sec to bring it up. It's going to work like that there is... it starts with a round of 16, head-to-head tournament. Basically, who is doing more volume, they will progress. We are up against FOMO Hour. First round 2K, then 4K, then 10K prize, and the winner takes away 20K as a prize. It's intended to share between the communities and the streamers / creators 50-50. We are not going to do that. Going to give everything back to the community. We have the Modern Market Ether board, which will be obviously the one where we'll be tracking the volume, and we will everything, if we win, whatever we win, give back to you, give back entirely to the community. How we're going to distribute that exactly, how we're going to do that volume based, we'll communicate that if we win clearly after each and every round. We'll have the details on that out later today in the Telegram chat. It's not live yet. If you already signed up on the Modern Market Yeet referral and you want to play, don't do that just yet. It's going to go live in 4 hours from now. And once again, we'll have all the details on that in the Telegram chat. And as always, a reminder with that to only gamble for fun with amounts that you can afford to lose, and stay responsible when doing so.
Exactly. So hopefully here, if we win, we get some rewards out of this prize pool. We'll distribute 100% to the people who are participating on our leaderboard. And hopefully, you'd continue to say that 40% is going to the community as an airdrop. I don't know if all of that will come in airdrop 1, whenever that's going to be. We don't have that information. Hopefully it's just...
we do have a bit more information on the airdrop, because KBM, Keyboard Monkey, in the Yeet chat yesterday said it's going to be early 2026, early next year.
Okay. So Q1 2026 for the Yeet airdrop.
Early next year. I think that means Q1, but the wording was early next year.
Okay. So let's see. So that's actually quite a while still to go. So definitely pace yourself if you're thinking of farming the airdrop entirely. So definitely be responsible with it. This is, I guess, a fun way to, if you want to farm it, it's a fun way to do it together rather than elsewhere, and just do so responsibly. So that's exciting. We'll let people know in the Telegram chat when that's live. It should be in a few hours or so. And that's it for the day, guys. That was a good show. I enjoyed the extensive reflections during the first half. Definitely want to think some more on the general portfolio stuff the rest of the day. And we'll be back tomorrow then to discuss that further. We hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you to Legendary for co-hosting with me. Thank you to Phunky for his contributions, as well as Oxy, who's up top with us today. And thank you for joining us. We do this every single day, Mondays, Fridays, 7 a.m. Eastern time, live on X Video, YouTube, and you can catch us on Apple and Spotify podcast too. We will be back same time, same place tomorrow, Friday the 10th of October. Have a wonderful day. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.